We are live on Lab Coat Agents, so welcome. We are back with Transactly once again to talk about transaction coordination and automating the contract to close and saving 16 hours per deal. This time we've had Brian Boyles on the last two times. This time we have Clayton Sanders. Welcome to Lab Coat Agents, Clayton.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So I know you're going to share your screen, right? And we're gonna focus on what I just mentioned, which is saving a lot of hours per deal. You mentioned 16 hours per deal and delegating over 90% of your contract to close. But before we get into that, I wanted to mention that Transactly is offering to Lab Coat Agents, our Lab Coat Agents audience, they are offering a coupon code that is good from June 18th through June 25th, and they are waiving the startup fee of $95, correct?
Yeah, correct. So it even gets a little bit better. So this is where I say,
bring it to us.
This is where I say, but Jeff, wait, there's more. So anybody who uses coupon code LCA between now and then midnight on next Thursday, we will waive the $95 onboarding deposit. But exclusive to people within Lab Coat Agents, they also get $95 off their first deal to help, lower any risk or hesitation about maybe wanting to try us and just see if we're a fit to help agents scale their teams and brokerages.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, then without further ado, let's dive right in and tell them what it's all about and go a heck of a lot deeper. And I'm kind of excited to wrap with you today versus Brian this time. A change of face is what we call it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. Brian Boyles, is the founder and CEO of Transactly. And actually, let me share my screen here. So Transactly came about because, Brian created Worth Clark Realty, which started here in St. Charles, Missouri, and expanded to 4 or 5 different states. And then really the whole goal was just, okay, how do we find a way to make transactions more transparent for agents, buyers, sellers, vendors? And as we kept building Transactly and realizing, okay, what is and isn't working here, what we found is that maybe agents don't necessarily want another piece of technology. And with us, you don't have to use our tech. We're a tech and TC service, but we interface and adapt to the agent's systems and the agent's preferences. And then this way, we're going to help just make things easier for agents, teams, and brokers. So we're really going to dive into today kind of who we are, what we do, our history, and so how we were able to also expand and grow this so quickly is the fact that we help agents, teams, and brokers automate contract to close by saving people about 16 hours on average on every deal. And we do this by automating and delegating these non-essential revenue generating tasks. And that's really what we're going to be getting into today. Because one thing I'd like to think about is even Beyonce only has 24 hours in a day, right? And she has to use her time really wisely. Top producing agents and brokers, they do the exact same thing. They're very intentional about how they spend their time. So this is the question I like to ask agents is, does this sound like you? Do you love paperwork, organization, and compliance? If you do, we're not a fit for you. Go ahead, keep doing your own thing. And chances are you don't love chasing down signatures and scheduling inspections. So because agents don't say these things, this is where we come into play. And the problem we solve is we help people save about 16 hours on every transaction. And I ask people to ask themselves a question, do you want to spend your time scheduling 20 inspections or going on 10 listing appointments? And what is the better use of your time? And so this is really how we help and come in. So top producers, it's really no surprise that they're the ones who are doing things differently. They have support systems in place for these non-revenue generating tasks, and then they're not the ones spending their time doing these things. Think about some of the best agents like what systems do they have in place and how do they spend their time? Because kind of like, the title of this suggests, look, if you end up giving 100%, that's a recipe for disaster. Because if you're doing that, then you're not focused on what really matters and what really moves the needle. And if you only have a finite amount of time and days, why not allocate and manage your time and resources appropriately so you can scale as fast as possible, as systematically as possible.
Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah. So,
yeah, well, I was going to say too, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong here, because we always have questions on these webinars about the difference between, because let me backtrack. Let me digress. First of all, if you're not aware that the only way you scale is to delegate, then you've probably been living under a rock, but this is even more important for you. I think more of our audience probably is thinking to themselves, okay, at what point do I employ a platform like Transactly versus just hiring my own TC or hiring somebody full-time? So Clayton, I'd like to hear what your response is to something like that, because I know that question comes up and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, so people will say, okay, why would I choose Transactly instead of somebody else? So let's just take a look here. So why Transactly? Well, first you need to ask yourself, and this is the conversation I had with somebody in Montana yesterday, a broker I was talking to. He reached out because he said, well, you know, I'm thinking about scaling and things are getting really busy, and I want to bring somebody on to help, but we're really busy 5 or 6 months out of the year. But then what happens during that other period of time? You're still paying somebody on salary, whether you're closing deals or not. And with us, it's come and go as you please, use us as much or as little as you want. We don't do contracts. We don't do commitments. The same way I look at, people ask me, are you kind of like Uber? And I say, well, yeah, in a way, because I'm not going to get a monthly subscription to a taxi cab service, but I am going to pay for a taxi whenever I need one. We're a similar concept for real estate agents scaling and doing paperwork. You know, that's why we don't do monthly fees and long-term contracts and you come and go as you please, because we get paid when your deal closes and we're case by case, deal by deal. So we have our own proprietary in-house technology. We have developers that come out with updates every 2 weeks. And one of the questions I hear people say is, okay, well, why would I go with a TC? Why don't I bring somebody in-house? Here's what I say. Well, do you know what they're doing 24/7? Can you see at any given time what has and hasn't been done? Because that's a concern people will share. Our capacity with 97 TCs and growing on the same team is pretty much unlimited. So there's no amount of volume that we can't really handle. And then we also have backups to dedicated TCs. So if your TC gets sick, goes on vacation, goes on maternity leave, we have somebody else waiting in the wings to help to back up your one dedicated personal TC. So then this way, you're relying on a network. You're never relying just on one person. With us, you also get a client success coach. So there's somebody who checks in on you and checks in on your TC and ensures that your deals are going well. You know, we only keep our lights on if the agents that we're working with are closing deals and focusing on people and prospects and not on paperwork. So it's in our best interest to protect an agent and broker's best interest and help simplify contract to close and make closings happen. We also have a nationwide network of these TCs that help educate one another. So because of this, this is really where we add value versus bringing somebody in on salary, because kind of like COVID, you're paying them whether you're closing deals or not.
Right. Awesome. Well, and I can see that I got way ahead on you.
Yeah, you did, and that's okay. And the way I do this is I don't like to just fly through this, because whenever I talk to people, I just want to make sure that we're a good fit. And to do that, that's to answer questions directly that somebody has. Because if you're anything like me, I hate when salespeople sell stuff to me and they just give me the same pitch no matter what. And I want to know if it's the fit for my needs. And that's why I like to answer questions directly first, and jumping around is something that we're happy to do.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Well, let's rewind the clock, and I'm going to let you take it over, and I'll just chime in as there's questions or as I have a question. Yeah,
sounds good. And if you see anybody asking anything on Facebook or Zoom, just kind of give me a heads up so that way I can answer those questions directly as well.
100%. And for those of you that are on Zoom, obviously, use the chat or the Q&A to ask questions. We will respond to them. Also, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and just type it in the comments, and Tessa is watching that and will let us know.
Cool. So to kind of just take a step back here, so like, who are we? What do we do? We are free transaction management technology, but we're also a nationwide network of TCs that helps agents, brokers, and teams automate and delegate about 90% of contract to close. You don't have to use our technology. We're going to interface with your preferred systems. And then the TCs are going to be familiar with your local area and your back-end tech. So I'm going to jump ahead here again real quick. There's just a number of systems that we use. And we will interface and go in and out of these different systems for you, because it begs the question, when you log into your broker compliance system, how much money does that make you? Every time you enter your username and password in the MLS, how much money do you make? And then usually I'm met with some silence because they're like, well, that doesn't make me money. My question is, then why are you doing it? Why don't you spend your time networking and meeting with people and, generating the top half of your funnel? Is because we take care of the bottom half of your funnel. The problem is when I talk to people, Jeff, they tell me, well, I can't handle more than 3 or 4 under contract at the same time. And I can't get new clients when I'm focused on the back half of my funnel. So I'm like, then just don't. Here's the simple answer. Don't worry about it. We're nationwide and we got you. And we're going to interface with these systems. So the TCs, we are living and working across the US. And Carmen Sandiego here is my good friend and teammate, Emily. So Emily, it's her job to help make sure that all the TCs across the country aren't staying too busy or not busy enough. And so we're constantly very, very cognizant of like the workload and the balance, because another thing I hear from agents and brokers is they say, well, my TC is getting kind of busy, or we can help with overflow. So because people can hire us on a case-by-case basis without contracts or commitments, then we can just simply help with overflow. So if you have a TC, if you have somebody on salary you like, great. I'm not suggesting you fire them at all, but you could still hire us on a case-by-case basis to help with any overflow. So we can be a total replacement or just like a Band-Aid whenever you feel like you need somebody on a case-by-case basis. So part of the benefit of our TCs is, again, if something happens to the TC, if somebody gets sick, goes on vacation, goes on maternity leave, what happens? Well, if Jen wants to take a vacation, then Amy can take 2 of her clients, and Brittany can take 2 clients, and Jen can take 2 clients. And because of this, you're never relying on one person with us. And that's where the safety and security, the support network of TCs comes in, because as an agent that you're taken care of and that we have control and you're gonna be good. I haven't breathed in a few minutes, Jeff. Did you have questions or anything to kind of change in, or how are you feeling?
One question that we commonly get, and let's get out ahead of it, is how about Canada?
Canada, yeah. So we actually just started expanding to Canada, interestingly enough. So I know right now we're in talks with a few different brokerages there, and we have some people that are working with us, doing some testing and pilot programs there now. So are we there currently? Yes. We are far more expansive in the US than we are currently in Canada.
Awesome.
But it's not totally out of the question. But I think as we grow and scale the company as a whole, that's going to be something that will become more commonplace. But right now, our primary focus is helping agents automate and delegate, again, 90% of contract to close with residential real estate transactions. Commercial is something we're slowly kind of dipping into a little bit right now, seeing like maybe what works here and what doesn't and fit with our model. But really residential is kind of where it's at for us.
Gotcha. Cool. Awesome. Carry on.
So people will ask, so what do you do? I say, well, you know what? We really have 2 different services. If you go to McDonald's, there's 100 different things in the menu. But if you come to Transactly, we really have 2 things on our menu. And that is transaction coordination for $350 and or pre-listing coordination for $125. And I can dig into a little bit of what those things are, and we'll look at the nitty-gritty of what that means. So transaction coordination, I'm actually going to jump out. I think I have a better example I can show you here. Let's try this. I imagine you've worked with a number of buyers, haven't you, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a look at a buy-side task checklist here. So these are some of our free task checklists that anybody is welcome to take a look at or use. And here's an example of just making sure that we are on the exact same page with you. So people will ask, at what point do you step in? We can step in and help as soon as there is an executed contract, because we don't get involved in the search phase. We're not getting involved in the offer phase, but rather you have an executed contract, and that's when we step in. And as soon as that happens, here are all the things that we're slowly going to take off your plate. And because of this, how many more deals are you closing as an agent if you're only focused on 7 or 8% of your job instead of doing 100%? And that's why the goal here today is talking about, if you do 100%, you're going to burn out and you're going to hit a wall of the limits that you can achieve. Because a lot of agents are doing under 30 a year and they wonder, how do I get above 30 a year? This is how we help, and then this is how it happens. So some of the things we don't do. We are not doing licensed activities. We are not going in and out and updating people's Facebook. We're not, cold calling some of your leads that are maybe going cold. Everything we do is very transactional in nature on a case-by-case, deal-by-deal basis. So I just say, hey, I could tell you the 70 things we're going to do on every deal, but it's easier sometimes just to say, hey, you know what? The 2 things we're not going to do, we're not doing licensed activities, and then we're not doing marketing activities. You have worked with sellers as well, and here is where the second of our 2 services come in. So we're taking a look here at this red box and this blue box. In this red box is what we call pre-listing coordination for 125. So pre-listing coordination is where we put things in the MLS, write the property description. We make sure that we're scheduling photography, inspections, open houses, going in and out of your different brokerage compliance systems. And then we can step in as soon as there is a signed listing contract. And on the sell side as well, this blue box here, this is transaction coordination. So this is a 65-point sell side checklist. And then we can take all these things off your plate and these white lines here. And then you're essentially worried about the licensed activities and the researching what goes into the contract as the agent. So it's all about just being very intentional and focused with your time.
I like it. So how those days that you have on there?
Yes, I'm gonna dig right into that.
I was
So
gonna say,
this is where part of our automation comes in. So we love to use the phrase, when you automate and delegate, you can dominate. And then this is exactly where those numbers come in. So here on the right side of my screen, we're taking a peek at the back end of our technology here. And then let's zoom in here. Let's make this part a little bit smaller. Let's try this. Okay, so these days right here, you guys that Jeff is referencing, this is what this means. We take your key dates, the key acceptance dates right here, acceptance dates, appraisal date, earnest money, inspection, closing, and we can, if you want, automatically sync them with your Google Calendar with our free technology. However, this is where part of the automation comes into play. These negative numbers, if the pre-listing date is, June 1st, then you might have, like May 26th, May 25th be the day that populates because it's -5. And this is where the algorithms and the automation come in. So then here we have this task checklist is directly reflected over here. A lot of agents understand task checklists, but they might not understand platforms. And so this platform, our backend technology that you can use for free or hire us to use it for you, this is where you see everything happen. If you ever want to know, what is my TC done? What is my TC not done? 24/7, it's all reflected right here. My TC Kevin, here's what he's done and not done. He made sure all the documents were accurate. He verified the appraisal was ordered. He made sure title work was complete. He made sure the appraisal passed, and he did this on April 15th. I don't have to guess because I can see it was completed by Kevin on that day. And if I don't want to see it and make things easier, I just simply toggle this button to have an easy, quick glance of what he has and hasn't done. But then the live listing date is another key date. So because of this, once we put in this key date, this is where the automation comes in. Because these days are different, this is how we can help agents scale, because we create a very systematic process to do it by using customizable task checklists, reflecting it in the application, and then creating a repeatable process from there.
got it.
Yeah. Questions so far?
Nope. We're just keep on jamming.
Cool.
Keep on jamming away. Unless Tessa's got anything, but I assume, Tessa, if you've got anything, just throw it in the chat or Q&A or chime in.
So some other frequently asked questions that I get is, so like, what else does your tech do? Well, we can organize and manage multiple offer situations, or we also have a feature where every house on the platform has a specific unique URL associated with it. So you can share this unique link in the comments section of the MLS. And then if you want to say, here's the property description, do you want to make an offer? Click here. It takes them to Transactly. They can submit an offer. As an agent, you can get a text and an email whenever an offer's been made on your listing. And if you want, the seller can get that too if you choose for the seller to have access to our tech as well. So that's how we help increase the transparency and collaboration with TCs, vendors, buyers, and sellers on the platform. We're also going to keep and store all the documents so you don't have things scattered all over the place, but rather you have everything in one central location. And if you want to see who's on your team, who has access to these particular files, you know who's has everything right here. But keep in mind, if you're a buyer and you're on the Transactly platform on a particular address and a listing agent, the buyer and the listing agent have two totally different points of view. So the buyer, as the listing agent, they can't see what I'm doing, but they can see things that are pertinent to them and their documents. And we have to be very intentional about who sees what and when.
Got it. Cool.
So that's just a peek into the tech as far as like how exactly it works. And then a lot of agents have task checklists. You can use ours, we can use yours, we can customize and mix the two. We're going to adapt to your preferences. So wrapping up again, who we are, what we do is 2 services. Transaction coordination is $350. Pre-listing coordination is $125, just on the sell side. So if you're on the buy side, $350, buy or sell contract to close. If you're on the sell side, it could be $125, it could be $350, it could be $350 plus $125. You pick and choose when you want us to step in, whenever makes sense for you. And that's why I argue that maybe we're a better fit than somebody who's on salary, or if you like your person on salary, then we can just plug and chug in whenever it makes sense on an as needed basis.
Awesome. We do have a question that just came in from Colin.
Yeah, sure.
Looks like there's a few questions within one comment. Are the market specific checklists already created that we can simply import and or use? And then they say, for instance, is there a checklist on the buyer side which has been customized for the specific dates in a California purchase agreement and escrow process? Or do we simply take the standard checklist and modify ourselves?
So part of this is you use this checklist here because we use this checklist as our starting point across the country, because we do transactions in 50 states. So because of that, I think about things like Illinois and Massachusetts. Those are states where there's not a lot of title, but there's attorneys involved. So some of these lines might not make sense. So what we need to do is edit and customize it. There's one thing I learned in this industry is that California is a whole different beast. North of LA and south of LA might as well be 2 different states. So because of that, the short version is we can use your checklist directly. We can use ours directly, but I think it's probably a good idea to customize it specifically to your local area and needs. And then that way, whenever we're looking at somebody in North or South California, it's edited and customized to whatever they need specifically for us to do. And then we can pre-populate this in our technology every single time in a very scalable way.
Excellent. Excellent. Let me remind those that are on Zoom, make sure Tessa actually put the special link for signing up and getting the deal just for Lab Coat agents. So check that out. She'll probably also put that in the chat on Facebook as well. And if she hasn't already, I just nudged her to do so. Carry on. That's what Colin wanted. Thank you, Colin, for asking a question.
Yeah. So some other questions we get, and again, the 2 services, pre-listing coordination. People say, when do I pay and how? Well, pre-listing coordination is paid upfront because we're doing the work whether that property closes or not. However, transaction coordination is paid at and after closing. So it's really the $125 upfront or the $350 after closing. If you're in a state where dual side is legal, we do it for $450 if we're working the same buy and sell side of the same transaction. So again, you have the same dedicated TC on every single deal. There's no monthly fee, no commitments, no obligations, and we get to help you organize and scale so you can basically dominate your market. Another question people ask is, what do you need from me, and what exactly and how exactly do you customize it? So we take customization pretty seriously here, and we don't just want anybody just signing up. we want to make sure, hey, are you a fit first? Because Jeff, we're not a fit for everybody. We're not a fit for every model. And I think it's a great idea to talk to somebody first and understand exactly what they're looking for, because sometimes the lines get blurred. And I know that even here in lab coats, there are people here that are great with when it comes to VAs, and the difference between a VA and a TC, is instrumental. And so because of that, they don't do the exact same things. We just want to make sure they're not looking for a VA when they try to sign up for a TC. And if they are, hey, we can help direct them in an area that might be more help. But if someone's looking for a transaction coordinator on a case-by-case basis that lives and works in the US in their state and is familiar with their systems, that is something we can help with. So when we talk about onboarding, here's some of the stuff that we want to figure out. Okay, not every person wants us to communicate with their clients, and that's okay. But we want to know, do you want us to? Because we customize everything to every agent across the US. Do you want to be CC'd or BCC'd on all your emails? Do you want your TC to automatically sync things to Google Calendar? Do you want them to manually put things in Outlook for open houses, inspections, final walkthroughs, and closings? And then do you just want to call, email, or text your TC? Do you want to have a screen share with them once a week? Do you want to call them once a week? I think it's a great idea to have an ongoing dialogue with your TC, even if you do or don't have an open order. So then this way, that relationship can keep being built, and we can figure out more ways to help agents scale. Other questions we need to know is like your broker compliance system. Are you in, .loop, DocuSign, zip forms, app files, paperless pipeline, SkySlope? I mean, you name it. There's just so many different systems. And because of this, we need to know, what are you using and how are we getting in on your behalf? We're going in and out of the MLS, e-signature platforms. Are you using Showing Time or something else? And then who are your preferred vendors? I mean, this can change on a deal by deal basis, but essentially you probably have similar vendors that you use on an ongoing basis. And because of this, if we learn your systems and preferences up front, then we're not bothering you in the middle of the day when we already know this stuff. So we essentially build a cheat sheet on how you want your business run. And then this way we can help you scale while you're out focusing on people and prospects and not on paperwork. If you ever want to change anything here, simply reach out to your customer success rep, or also reach out to your TC and we can edit anything for you. So this is where it gets a little hyper-focused and customized here. And something people tell me, Jeff, is they say, I'm a control freak. This will never work for me. And that to me, it sounds crazy. And here's why. I say, okay, what are you a control freak about? Well, I just want to make sure my clients know that I'm serving them and not somebody else. Okay, when you change an MLS status to pending, how much money do you make? Well, none. When you review your documents, how much money do you make? None. Whenever you have to check on receipts of earnest money, does that make you money? No. Does logging into SkySlope or Back Agent or zip forms or app files make you money? No. That's why we're here. We do it for you. So you essentially just check these different boxes that you want us to do. But if for some reason, if an agent wants to have hyper control over a specific thing, if they want to be the one that makes sure the appraisal has passed, okay, great. Then just don't check the box. It's that simple. And if you ever want it to be different on a deal by deal basis, that's great. But we get to build this out ahead of time, learn your systems, learn your preferences, customize everything. So then this way we can help you scale, because that 16 hours is a big claim. In order to back that up, we better have a lot of like devil is in the details stuff here to show people how exactly that works.
Yeah, and I would question, Clayton, anybody who says that. It's like, obviously I speak about video a lot and social media and stuff, and we say, will it make or break you? The answer is no, it won't break you, but it can make you, and it can scale your business. It can take your business to other levels. This is the same thing. So if anybody ever comes to me and says, I'm a control freak, my response is that, so then you're comfortable where you are and you're never going to grow, because you cannot physically do it. You'll either A, burn out, or B, you'll just drive yourself crazy, right? It's just not possible. You cannot, if you're capable of doing 5, you can't go to 10 without letting go. And this is what it's all about. Transactly is exactly this. It's contract TC is what it is. It's an absolute necessity for scaling your business. And I think there's so many agents, Clayton, because there's a lot of real estate agents that are, middle or average producers at best. And they struggle to take it to the next level. And I think for anybody listening to this, look in the mirror and decide if this is probably one of those things. And that's where Transactly enters in, because it's like, I can't afford to pay somebody 30, 40, 50 grand a year to basically assist me. And that's where this is the perfect option for them, because they only pay for it when it closes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so you hit on something there that I want to highlight is, if you're trying to scale, according to NAR, the average agent does about 11 deals a year. The average Transactly agent closes 24 deals a year. Then someone says to me, they go, oh, well, you only work with top producers. Well, not necessarily. We take agents that are statistically pretty average and then help them essentially just really move the needle far and fast. And so that can only really happen if you delegate appropriately and focus on things that make you the most bang for your buck and give you the most value for your time.
Yeah. Clayton, correct me if I'm wrong here, and you may or may not even want me to say this, but I'm going to, is I think top producers, you get to a point where they're going to make money by having their staff. I think top producers have their own TCs. This is actually for the masses, not for just the small percentage of top producers. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So here's what I say when people say to me to that is, we are for the masses, the people that want to figure out, how do I scale? How do I compete? Because as you know, there's like, it's the 90-10, 80-20 rule is, you have some really successful people doing most of the business. Those people, that's great. But also we can help them on a case-by-case basis, because chances are they already figured this out. They already have a TC. Okay, I'm not saying fire your person, but we can be there to help out on a case-by-case basis. And we also are working with a large number of brokerages. So because of this, brokerages are eligible for our brokerage program, which if there are any managing brokers watching and want to reach out, I'd love to schedule a call and go into the details of what exactly that does, because we can help with recruiting and retention. We can help with revenue streams. And then we can also help with making sure that everything is easier for brokerages, because compliance departments love us, because it's accurate and correct the first time it gets turned in. So agents and brokers aren't going back and forth and saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. We make life easier for the compliance departments and the brokerages. So that's why more and more brokers keep partnering with us. And, people are starting to hear about us we were sponsored in Inman recently. And we're also a part of NAR's REACH program, the second, Century Ventures Capital Investment Fund. So because of that, we're growing and scaling pretty quickly, and we welcome anybody that wants to join us so we can help them as well. But it's really just an exciting time. And I tell you what, Jeff, the people that really want help, sometimes it's the masses, but sometimes it's those top producers that just need help with overflow too.
You bring up a good point. I don't know that Brian's ever mentioned that, and if he has, I missed it. But it's a great point. We're going through that right now. The mortgage industry is going through that right now, where we're looking at contract processing because our current people just can't keep up. Or let's just say you go through a 6-month run where you just beat the crap out of your operational people. Well, it's a good opportunity while you're trying to hire new people, or when you just want to give them a breather, or about vacations. Things like that. You just want things to continue to operate smoothly.
Yeah. And I say that all the time, is because when someone says to me, they go, well, I have a TC. I'm like, okay, great. What happens when they get sick? Well, they don't. Really? They don't get sick. Do they ever take vacations? Well, do they have a family? Are they going on maternity leave? TCs keep joining us because we give TCs E&O. We introduce TCs to agents. So we make TCs' lives easier too, with free technology, and also giving them clients as well. So we're really just taking two different groups of people and then introducing them to one another and staying involved in the process to ensure that everything goes well from top to bottom.
Awesome.
So I'm not going to take too much more of your time here, Jeff, unless there were other questions in the thread or in Facebook that maybe we should address.
No, not yet.
Okay. So yes, we are going to interface with your systems, because sometimes people reach out if they're a brand new agent. They might not know the ins and outs of Transaction Desk. They might not know the ins and outs of SkySlope. Keep in mind, we are not a replacement for SkySlope. We are not a replacement for Transaction Desk. We're not a replacement for Dotloop. That's not what we're doing. but rather we can use those systems and interface with them on your behalf. And I say that because some brokers, will say, oh, well, I already have technology. Well, that's part of what we do, but it's not exactly everything that we do here. The free technology or the nationwide TC network that's local to your area that adapts to your systems and preferences. So then this way, automation and delegation can happen. This part's interesting. I want to talk about this. So we do customizable templates too. When we talk about the buy side and sell side task checklists, we also have email templates that we can use as well. So this is customizable just like those checklists. So if an agent wants us to communicate with their clients, this is how we do it. We have 13 different pre-made customizable templates that look something like this. Hey client, congrats on going under contract. My name is Clayton. I'm Jeff's transaction coordinator. So we introduce ourselves as an extension of your team. My job is to make sure your home sale is quick and seamless. Here's a few things I do. Open and monitor escrow, act as a liaison, audit the files, monitor deadlines, schedule appointments, create and distribute closing packets. And we're doing this on your behalf. So again, I'd raise the question, the last time you crafted an email that could be templatized to your buyer and seller, how much money did you make? None. Why don't you create a systematic process that helps you scale and do that? But when we talk to buyers, the conversation has to look different because they need to know about earnest money deposits. We can plug and chug this information and send it on your behalf. Home inspections, we can plug and chug this information, send it on your behalf. It looks different when we're talking to sellers though too, because the language and communication is different, and it's different if you're in Montana than if you're in Southern California. So we need to be very intentional about how we customize this to every single person in different areas of the country. We can use your templates, we can use our templates, we can customize and mix the two so it sounds more like your authentic voice. You just give us a heads up. Free technology, we talked about that briefly. I encourage people, just Google Transactly Reviews. Sometimes after somebody talks to me, they just want more social proof. So I say, fine, we're not afraid about what's out there at all. We encourage you to ask your realtor friends and family, have they worked with us? Have they worked with any TCs on another side of a deal? And actually this number is kind of low here. It's probably even higher now. One thing we just looked at is our TCs total. We've closed over 20,000 transactions when we look at the combined experience of our TCs. So even though I still consider us a real estate technology startup, and in some ways I always will, but rather what we've done is we've handpicked some of the best TCs we could find who live and work across the country, bring them together to help other agents, teams, and brokers automate, delegate, and scale. So something to consider is, we have about, again, 97 TCs now, but among that 97, we've had over 1,000 applicants. So we're taking less than 10% of the people. So because of that, you're getting somebody that's already interviewed, pre-screened, vetted, and then is familiar with your back-end areas and also the technology that you're using. Jeff, it just comes down to measuring the ROI on your time. I'm not going to sit here and do a bunch of math problems with people, but just do the math. It just comes down to how long does it take you to get a new client? Average commission, what's that look like? How many more deals could you handle if you only focused on tasks that made you money, and if you only focused on licensed activities, and how much more income is possible for you? So that's one thing I like to ask people to ask themselves is how much more money could you make if you invested in a TC that wasn't on salary? Why Transactly? We talked about that briefly a little bit earlier. Free tech, unlimited capacity, same TC every time. You get a backup to your TC. You get a client success coach who checks in with you and also checks in with, he checks in with you and then checks in with your clients as well to make sure everything's going well. And if things aren't going well, you talk to your client success rep. We can easily adapt another TC in there. If you want somebody else, it's a no-brainer. We can make that happen. You want somebody who is maybe more proactive or more direct or more bubbly or a little more friendly or less friendly and more down to the point. We have personality profiles with our TCs, so it's a lot easier to find a personality match that really fits. So getting started is pretty easy. It's as simple as deciding, do you want to become a client? And one other thing is we are really easy to fire because if you try us once, if you don't like us, okay, then we shake hands and we walk away. It's as simple as that. So with this, this is the next step for anybody who wants to try us. And down here at the bottom, you're going to put in coupon code LCA, coupon code LCA, coupon code LCA. What that's going to do is that's going to make this $95 deposit go away. It's going to change that to 0, and you get $95 off your first deal because you're a member of Lab Coat Agents if you do that within the next 7 days. So I know that this can look like a little bit of legalese, so I just want to point out a few key things here. When I say no contracts, no commitments, I stand by that, and here's what I mean. Either party may cancel this at any time. So this is simply an agreement, not really a contract, not really a commitment, but it holds us to the same things that we're talking about here today, Jeff. So you know I'm not just going to change the price on somebody and say, oh, well, now transaction coordination is $450, not $350. No, it's $350. And I know that because on June 17th, you signed something saying that it was. So this protects you just as much as it protects us. And it says things like transaction coordination. What is it? Listing coordination. What is it? So just some clear definitions. Use coupon code LCA, start for free, save $95 on your first deal, and then try us out, because what have you got to lose?
Doesn't sound like anything. I don't know why you wouldn't sign up. If you do not have a TC now, why wouldn't you give this a shot?
Yeah, because I mean the risk is very low. You essentially get to try a TC, for $95 off and start for free. And the turnaround time is quick. What happens is if somebody signs up there, then the next day at 1 o'clock, or if they sign up in the morning that day at 1 o'clock Central, then we have a 10-minute onboarding webinar. We go over different, tips and tricks of working with your TC and expectations. And then the next day or same day, we can introduce you to your TC and start working on your file. So this is really a great place to be, and I'm excited to see as we grow and scale even more. Because if you're an agent who doesn't love paperwork, then there's something here we can help you with.
Love it, man. Love it. So, folks, you have any questions, ask them before we depart. Otherwise, just a reminder, the link is in the chat, and Tessa probably put it on Facebook as well. So you go to transactly.com/real-estate-transaction-coordinator, and then put in coupon code LCA. And there is 0 charge to get started. And frankly, Clayton, there's 0 charge until you close a deal. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm really struggling here to figure out a reason why I wouldn't give this a shot if I'm an agent and don't have this. And again, like you said, I think we need to drive this home. If you already have a TC and they are sick, or they go on vacation, or they just at a point where they just can't keep up, this is the perfect place to use. This is a perfect platform to use for that. So I love that you brought that up today, Clayton.
Yeah, well, yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Let's see if we have anything in Q&A here, or anything in live chat on Facebook here.
Doesn't look like it, man.
Answer Colin's questions.
I think you were just so clear and concise that it was that good.
Yeah, so a little. I used to be a school teacher and principal before I got into real estate. So I love teaching and education. So this is actually a pretty natural transition for me to talk to agents and also talk about technology and webinars and demos. So the whole thing's very exciting.
Awesome. I'll ask you a question, Clayton.
Yeah, shoot.
So what would you say is probably the biggest objection that you come across from anyone considering a TC? Like, why don't they do this?
Yeah, I would say the people that don't, they say, I already have a TC. So they just shut down and think, well, that's all we do. Well, that's not all we do. That's part of what we do. And then there's always so much more behind that. So sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, they go, I have a TC, and I'm like, okay, there's actually a lot more there. But really, managing brokers might already have somebody on staff that is like kind of doing TC work, kind of doing licensed agent work, but maybe they haven't considered the fact that like, we're case by case, no contracts, no commitments. So if you have a great TC, keep them. That's awesome. But we can also help with overflow on an as needed basis. We're adapting to your systems and preferences. And if you want to spend time on what matters the most, which is people and prospects and not paperwork, then we are the solution for agents that simply want to close more deals.
Is there any platforms you do not integrate with that you've
Oh, that's a good question. So So here's something. I talked to somebody maybe about a month ago who said, "Oh, will you use Follow Up Boss for me?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, what exactly do you want us to do in Follow Up Boss?" And they had listed off a bunch of tasks that were like updating the CRM. So we're not really going in and out of CRMs. We go in and out of your broker compliance system and your preferred transaction management system. We'll update those things, but we're not going in and out of different CRMs. Or like if somebody is using like, Trello or something, or Monday.com to organize their tasks, we do that for free with our technology. And then our TCs will do that with Transactly as well. So we're not a fit for somebody if they're looking for a VA, but if they're looking for a TC on a case-by-case basis, managing brokers all the way down to brand new agents, then there is something here for somebody.
I was just going to say that's VA work right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, brother, I don't think we have anything else, and we're coming up on an hour anyway. So I think this was excellent. And unless you've got any closing remarks, I think we'll wrap it up and thank everybody for being on. And if you have any questions, make sure you comment on the Facebook post after the fact. Or Clayton, how can they contact you? Because I know you watch these posts, but also what's the best way to contact you if anybody has questions?
Yeah. So the best way to contact us is sales@transactly.com. sales@transactly.com. If you'd like to reach out to me personally, it's clayton@transactly.com. I'm a big fan of LCA. You probably see me in there a lot. And if I haven't met you already, I'm sure we'll talk soon. So either sales@transactly.com or clayton@transactly.com.
Awesome. I'm going to put that here in the chat, the email, clayton@transactly.com. Perfect. Awesome. Clayton, it's been a pleasure. You're relatively down the street from me, unlike most people I talk to. So this has been great, man. It's great to formally meet, and thank you all for being on today. And thank you to Transactly. I do believe we're scheduling another one of these maybe next week with Brian and a power user, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we do have some power users that have our brokerages of 1,000+ agents, and we love working with them, and everything's been great. So we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. That'll be fun. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on today. Clayton, thank you again, and we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time, Jeff. See you guys.